What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be starting on a new project, Xbox One S. This is my personal one. This was the one that had the blood-bred fluid that was water-cooled and then put into a computer case, and it has been back to stock for quite a while now. I've been wanting to re-water cool it, but before I mess with this one, we have gotten a second one that we're going to look at here in a second. And right before we get into that, I just want to comment on the eyeball 360. We are still waiting on the pump top to replace this one. I did clear customs in New York, but it still has not left that facility. But it does still have the earliest estimated date is still a few days away from now. So should get that soon, and then we will jump into this as soon as I get that top. I just don't want to go any farther until I have that on there and make sure that this orientation for everything is going to work before we start wiring and well, really cutting into this case and all that. So anyway, with that aside, we also have the batteries for the PS3 controllers. Still waiting on a screen for one of the PSPs, and then we'll do PlayStation stuff. But onto the Xbox. Now, if I remember right, this system up here, I got it not long after they came out. I actually got it as a gift, but I think those were, what, around $500 probably. That's a 500 gigabyte 1S. So now that these have been out a while, and even the newest system has been out a little while, um, these you can get for anywhere from 140 to 160, 170, definitely under $200. I got this one for 150, and this one came with games, controller, all the cables. Obviously, you can get just the console for cheaper. Fortunately, this one's not in the best shape cosmetically, but I've already opened this up, plugged it in, did the full update, tested out the games. Everything works great on this. This is also a 1 terabyte system. My whole goal for getting this one was to make the most budget water-cooled build possible that I plan to resell. So we have the for 150 plus tax was about 160, and I'm going to show the cost of everything for this, okay? And just as a reference, the other one that had this reservoir, it had an XSPC radiator, a name brand fan, the Phobia pump, which is the same one I will be using for this. That's one thing I will refuse the cheap out on. And even then, it's still probably the cheapest pump you can get. I've already ordered that one. That's one thing I'm waiting on. It's a Phobia 220 pump, I believe, which is the cheapest version of those pumps. And that one was $44, but shipped $57. Now, it has not actually shipped yet, but once it does, should show up within a few days. And I don't really need that right away. I already know where that's going to go, and we still have a lot to do before we get to that. But anyway, let's look at what we got. It came with a controller, fully functioning. It is a little gunked up. I have already ordered some other parts for this build, one including a full shell for the controller and buttons. It's in a kind of a galaxy purple camouflage looking thing, which is my idea for this build. Is to use the kind of purple and bluish color shift paint. Maybe we'll do some of the glow in the dark stuff and everything, but we will be painting this case. This bundle also came with a couple 2K and Madden games. They all are in great shape. The cases are kind of dirty, just like everything is here. Just kind of sticky and dirty. Um, I guess with Xbox comes a lot of Cheetos and Mountain Dew and sticky fingers, but like I said, we're going to clean all that up. It also came with a high-speed HDMI cable and, of course, the power cable, so that's everything I need. Like I said, a lot of these systems you can get for around 140, 150, but it'll just say like console only. You know, maybe it'll come with the power cord, which these power cords are very cheap, unlike the older Xboxes where it's an actual power brick where the supply is not built into the system. So yeah, as you can see, there was some kind of sticker here. There is some kind of scratches and stuff. Unfortunately, there's a couple chunks. There's one there, little divot there. Corner's a little beat up. but it is fully functioning. I'm sure it's a little dirty on the inside, so obviously before we do any painting or anything, it's going to be completely cleaned out. I do have a spare. I have a parts one of these that I bought way back several years ago when I put my personal system back to stock, just to use some of the pieces from it. And it was a completely broken system. Um, Maybe that one is in better shape. There, I know there's a divot on the back, but it doesn't have these other chips there. But anyway, 1 terabyte system, and let's look at some of the parts we're going to be using. So I already had this radiator. This is an 80 millimeter aluminum, very lightweight, which will also help with the overall weight of the system, as these are already somewhat heavy. And obviously when I used, like on the other one, I used this is a heavy solid metal reservoir. Same with the radiator, was copper, but this one being aluminum, it weighs almost nothing. And because it's an 80, I have a fan I already want to use for it, which is an 80 millimeter clear CoolJag programmable 80 millimeter fan, meaning you can plug it USB into the computer, which I have the cables for that, and the disk in order to download the program, to where you can program it to say anything you want. As it spins, it has LEDs that will display messages, and then it also goes back and forth between showing the temperature of the air entering our system. Now that should definitely be efficient enough for this build. I will also be using probably 1 or 2 of the 40 millimeter fans that I have that are only $1.50 a piece on the inside, just for extra cooling, since this doesn't actually cover a big portion of the top for inlet temperatures. So this one here was around $13 or $14. Like I said, I'll actually get some kind of notepad or something that I'll write down every single little piece. For the water block, for mine, when I did that one, I used the XSPC Xbox 360 Slim specific water block, which to me right now is priceless. It's been discontinued for a long time. You cannot buy them anymore. But that was still, when it was new, I believe like $45 for a water block. However, again, we're going budget. I'm getting one that I have also gotten before. It's actually the water block that is currently in the 360 Slim clear build there. This was $19. Okay, excellently shut it off. So anyway, this is it here. It is just a PC GPU water block. Yes, it's from China. Like I said, though, it's the exact one that's in the Slim, the 360 Slim, and I have no problems with it at all. It works great. So I'm going to be using that one, $19 for that. Like I said, this one was about $14, $15. I'm also going to be trying to use stuff I already have, but I still need to include that in the price. So the fan that I have, you can buy those for around $20. Since mine's used, I'm going to call it another $12 or $15 for this build. So right now we're at about, let's see, just with the system and the pump. Like I said, I'm not going to cheap out on the pump. I'm not going to buy a little $20 pump just to find out it leaks or isn't efficient enough for our loop or anything like that. So the pump is something I'm just not going to cheap out on. So just with those two, we're already at over $200. So you can see how much this does cost. However, I'm still planning on, my goal is to keep it cheaper than what the new Xbox Series S is going for, which I believe is around $300. So we're hoping to keep this all under $300. And then again, with tubing, that's something I'm going to use whatever tubing I have left over from previous builds, no matter what the colors are. Obviously, any tubing on the inside of the system, who cares what color it is, you won't see it. Although I do plan on cutting a window out here and then using a thicker plexiglass that I can mount this stuff to. Or we'll just cut out a section just for this. We'll get to that when we get to it. So, next up is a reservoir. Now this is something I haven't received yet. Should actually be getting it tomorrow, so it'll still be in this video, but I'll be using the same reservoir that's in this build here. Again, it is an Amazon special, just like the water block. And technically this I would consider an Amazon special, but I actually got it from eBay. And this again is a $12.99 reservoir. And like I said, I'm going to include, this is just base price, Prime free shipping. That doesn't include tax, but I will get all the receipts for everything and we'll have an actual total. And then it's same with fittings. Fittings are something that can really add up in cost. I, again, hope to not have to buy any fittings at all, just use ones that I already have. And then we'll just take the actual cost of what a new fitting would be and either cut that in half or just take a certain amount off, since they are used ones that I already have. And yeah, so that's pretty much everything we're going to be using. Let's look at some of the tubing. Here's my bin of water cooling parts. I pulled out all of the 3/8 tubing that I have, just leftover. Again, tubing can be kind of pricey. I mean, there's definitely really cheap options, but that's not something, again, I want to cheap out on, something that's going to start dissolving or cause any issues. This is all, you know, like Primo Chill and Alpha Cool tubing specific for PC water cooling, not just random tubing for whatever from Amazon. So we've got UV green, we've got blue UV silver tubing, and then honestly I don't know if this is this probably is UV blue clear tubing. It could just be clear, but I'm pretty sure it's UV. So I can use stuff like this for the inside of the system, where it goes from like the pump to the water block and all that. And then I can use clear tubing for up top, the parts that are actually technically external on the system, to go from like the reservoir to the radiator and vice versa. So this I'm counting as zero cost at all. It's not adding anything. I already included the cost of buying this stuff originally in previous builds, so this is kind of just scraps, although it is still brand new unused tubing. It's just the leftovers. So that's something we're going to use for that. And we go on the inside of this box here. I've got just a whole bunch of random fittings. So these smaller ones, that's 1/4 inch. That's what we're using in the 360, the eyeball 360. I can include probably something like this, because part of the order I made that I don't think will be here tomorrow, this specific part, but it'll be here in a few days, which is a temperature display. Again, that's a $10 add-on. But the one that I got is one that actually screws into a G 1/4 fitting like this. So I would need either this one, which is a 3-way, so we can plug it in to the system and get the temperature of the water. And normally I've been liking to use the flat sensors and putting it right on the either the water block chip or the heat sink. But from a lot of testing I've done, there's not a huge difference to just having the temperature of the water versus the actual temperature of the chip. There's not that much of a difference. That's going to be good enough, but anytime I do water cooling, I do like to add some kind of monitoring system. So maybe we'll use something like this. This actually has 3 plugins, so it'll, you know, have the temperature of the water passing through it. Other than that, again, we'll try to still keep a theme going. I don't want to use, you know, chrome, black, and white fittings. We'll just use at least the ones that are visible. You know, we'll just use the white ones or just the chrome ones, something like that. So that's the whole plan for this build. That plan does not include buying these. These are like $20 a piece. Like I said, when I sell this, obviously there's going to be no fluid in there at all. I will only test it with distilled water. I'm always going to recommend distilled water for any build that I might sell that's a water-cooled. However, you can use whatever you want. This is clear fluid that's UV blue. You want to keep in mind with stuff like this, though, that it will eventually kind of start staining the inside of like clear tubing and stuff like that, maybe even the reservoir. But yeah, so that's our plan there. Alright, so Now, to be honest, this video is probably already longer or about as long as my usual videos, so that's pretty much all we're going to do for now, is just kind of show our starting point and all the parts we plan to use. And in the next part, we're going to take this apart and start prepping this for water cooling it. In terms of the wiring, everything like that. I won't show too much of that since I have a whole build series of water cooling this system, and I show everything that I did. I will still gloss over, well, not gloss over, I will still go over all the little things we need to include. Of course, we're going to do either a regular LED strip that I've been using lately that has the different colors, or just a UV strip that'll, I guess, depend on, like I said, if I'm doing a big window here or just doing a small window on one side or something like that. So that's it, guys. And then, like I said, at least at the time of me filming this video, we haven't done this yet, but if I do get this top in, we're going to jump into this. This is going to be main priority since we've already started it, and I haven't taken this apart yet. So yeah, we're going to be doing that, and then we will get to the PlayStations, I promise. I'm going to get a new screen for the one PSP, the mint green one, and as soon as I do that, I'm making and uploading that video. So it might even be up before I do either of these. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in purchasing this one, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, stay tuned for the next video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.